To reshape gouges, you don't actually need to buy very expensive jigs. If you buy them, it will be a little bit advantage to you, but even without buying anything, you can still do a good job. And let me show you how. Hey everybody, it's Alex from A2 Wood Art and welcome to my workshop. Today I'll be talking about how to sharpen a gouge, either lathe gouge or carving gouge, if you don't have a jig. I'm not going to be talking how to do it by hand, but I'm going to be talking to how to make a very simple jig so you can do it on the bench grinder. So here's the jig. That's it. There's nothing else. So this is just L-shaped piece of pine and there's nothing really. The way I'm using it is very simple. So you probably want to tie both the jig and the bench grinder so they don't move on you. So basically the jig is almost done with one exception. So you actually need to define the angle so your gouge will be sitting and like being grinding correctly. So what you need to do is to have basically define a few lines. For this gouge, given I already fixed it I think 4 times, I have this line. So what I can do, I can just put a piece of wood along this line, a little bit of fixing it, and now that's it. The angle is correct and I can start grinding. Unless you're working with the lathe gouges, you have to be careful about overheating. And I think you also have to be careful about overheating with lathe gouges as well. So keep a cup of water nearby and dip your gouge there regularly. Otherwise, bad things may happen to the edge. Depending on the state of the gouge and how aggressive you press the gouge against the wheel, it can take various amounts of time. This time it took me about 5 minutes of grinding to get to the state where I could feel the burr on the backside, meaning I got exactly where I wanted. For lathe gouges, this probably be the end of the process, but for the carving gouges, you actually want the edge to be razor sharp, so a little bit of hand sharpening is needed. With a freshly ground gouge, it's actually quite quick. First, using a dowel and sandpaper, say 1000 grit, remove the burr on the backside. Then on a diamond stone, I decided to do first coarse and then fine. Quickly hone the edge until you feel the burr on the backside. For this, you need to use a rotating motion and pick the right angle. However, it's actually quite easy to feel that right angle on the freshly ground bevel because it's like a little bit concave. And it doesn't actually take too long. Really, I think it took me about 2 or 3 minutes for both stones and sandpaper. And the last stage is just to do a little bit polishing on straw. Really, it doesn't take too much time for this sharpening and so much happiness to use it afterwards. That's it, just a scrap pieces of wood and you have a ready jig. So if you're waiting to get a jig before starting grinding your gouge, you don't have to wait. You can just make a very rudimentary jig and it will work perfectly. I did this multiple times. Again, it may not be a good indication that it did a good job, but I did a good job. I think I did a good job for this one. It's a very perfect one. I'm really happy with this one. So that's it. Hope you like this small advice of making a very simple jig for the grinding, and see you next time. Before you go, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel as well. I really appreciate that and it will help to grow my channel. So see you next video. Bye.